to live streaming. This is our last live streaming session before we start on Monday in Mid-Central. My understanding is that there's already quite a big list of people who have contacted Lorna to say that they want to work with a connector. So just really want to manage people's expectations about that. My understanding is we've got more than 100 people, somewhere around 150 people who already want to work with a connector, And as we've said in the past, we want to make sure that we do a quality process with each person. So we will be providing people information about timeframes, as we won't be able to work with every person on day one with those sorts of numbers coming through. So again, we are committed to doing this right, and we want to make sure that we can manage people's expectations. We've just got a small technical with that the camera is clean and come back. Just really want to encourage people to get their questions in early. So if you can please type in your questions onto the YouTube screen or send it to stfeedback@moh.govt.nz. We haven't had any questions sent in before this session, so if we don't get questions soon, we will wrap it up early. So just really encouraging people to get any questions that they have in early. So what have we been doing? We're at the moment going through making sure that we've got everything that we need on day one. So some of the sorts of things that we've been making sure we've got are things like consent forms and guidance about what consent means, what do you need to know as a disabled person in Whānau about giving your consent to share information or to ask us to work with another government agency on your behalf, and also guidance for connectors about what they need to do with consent. So that's sort of an example. We've also been doing a lot of developing content about processes and how things happen and who to contact and what's available in Mid-Central to go on the website. So really want to manage people's expectations there too, that while we've been busily creating content for the website, we'll only have a small amount up there on the 1st of October, and we'll be continuing to add to that. And we'll be really interested in your feedback about what's missing. So we're expecting the website to go live before the 1st of October, just before, and you'll be able to then give us feedback about what are the sorts of things you want to see. But as I said, we will be building content and resources over a period of time and adding to that. Just remember, this is a try, learn and adjust approach. So we will be collecting feedback from people about what they think's working, where there are opportunities to improve, and we'll be adding that as we go. And that includes making sure that we can provide information in accessible formats for people. So rather than translating everything into different formats, we're really trying to think about what would be most useful for different groups of people. So over the last few weeks, Sonia Pivac's been doing a lot of work with the deaf community to look at, firstly, how can we provide a summary of the Enabling Good Lives vision and principles using deaf concepts rather than translating it from English into New Zealand Sign Language, and working out what's the information that people need to know about what they need to know for the prototype on day one in Mid-Central. And so she is working on developing that information so that there will be videos for the deaf about what it means for them. There's also been a number of workshops for people with learning disabilities in the region so that they can start to understand as well more about Enabling Good Lives vision and principles. Just really want to remind people that you can either put in your questions on the YouTube screen, or you can email stfeedback@moh.govt.nz. And if you haven't, if you think of something after we finish this session, you can also email us on that. I've just had a comment from Janet. I'm interested in hearing about alternatives to group homes. So that is one of the things that will be really encouraging people to work with connectors to talk about what are the options for their life and where they want to live. And that will be looking at exploring some of the options that are open to everybody, things like flatting situations, boarding situations, student hostels. What are the different range of living options that are available, but also looking at what are the options in terms of things like social housing options in Palmerston North, and we will be working with the Palmerston North City Council as well as Housing New Zealand on that. But thinking about what do individuals want in their life, what would they want their good life to look like, and then what are the different options for making that happen. And that could be about the types of living arrangements and also about how support is provided in that situation. So again, this is about you thinking about what does it look like, what's important to you and what could your life look like, and having access to a connector to support you and your family to think about what those options could look like, including considering a range of different ways of putting support in place. I've just had a question from Ashton. Is this just a Mid-Central initiative only at this stage, and where is Mid-Central? So I'll start with the where is Mid-Central. When we talk about Mid-Central, we're talking about Mid-Central DHB area, and that goes from Otaki up to Dannevirke and across to Feilding. And so it includes Palmerston North, Woodville, Levin, so around that area. At this stage, what we are rolling out is a prototype where we are trying, learning and adjusting a model of what a transformed disability support system based on the Enabling Good Lives vision and principles could look like. And so at this stage, the government has agreed to roll this out in Mid-Central region as a prototype, and that is from the 1st of October. And then following the try, learn and adjust approach for 18 months to 2 years, we will be refining the model and providing advice to ministers in late 2020 about the next steps around expanding this beyond Mid-Central region. So just really encouraging people to get their questions in. I've only had a couple of questions so far, so you can either type them into the YouTube or you can email us at stfeedback@moh.govt.nz. This isn't the last live streaming opportunity. We're also doing one tomorrow night at 6:30 in Mid-Central, and the Lorna Sullivan, the director of the Connector or Kai Whānau team, will be on that live streaming with me. Just had a question from Ruth. How many families, differently abled people, is each connector expected to deal with? So we have, we don't know how many people are going to want to work with a connector. So what we have done is base the numbers of connectors that we have employed. Firstly, there are 3 types of connectors we're trying in the prototype. So we've employed 17 connectors, and we're also currently got a request for quote out for non-government organisations who do not provide disability support to provide connectors. And in particular there we're looking for some cultural responses, particularly around integrated whānau ora and disability support system response, but it could be other cultural responses as well. And people can also, if they think they've got somebody in their networks who they would really like to work with, they also have the option to bring the person along and to check that they have the skills to be a connector, and they can be paid to do that for you. So how many families? So we have based the numbers on a average across of a connector working with up to 45 disabled people and families, but that will differ depending on the particular circumstances of the families and of the situation. So it may be that some connectors are working with 20 families and others might be working with more, and that will depend on the situation. But also it isn't about actively, a connector may be work at a different level of intensity with somebody for a period of time, particularly at the beginning, and then over time will just check in occasionally rather than being very involved in them. So when we're talking about a connector working with up to 45 families, that may mean actively working with 10 and then actively working on with another 10 as they reduce with direct contact with people on a regular basis. Someone's just asked, what arrangements are in place should a family decide to move their funding to a region where system transformation is not yet in place? So unfortunately, if you are in mid-central region and you decide to move out of the region, you will no longer be part of the prototype and you will need to transfer back to the existing system. So what we have in place is that you do need to be in the mid-central region to be able to to be able to access the prototype. So if somebody moves, they will go back into the existing system unless they move, for example, to Waikato and Christchurch, but those two demonstrations have very specific criteria, and also there are people waiting to join in Waikato. Just really encouraging people to send in any questions. You can either send them to stfeedback@moh.govt.nz, or you can type them into the YouTube screen. So the connectors are currently doing their last week of induction and are working with some disabled people and families, and I'm hearing really positive feedback about how that's been going. Really encouraging people to come up with their questions. Hubs. Okay, I've had a question about, and unfortunately I haven't got the addresses in front of me, but we are on, as of next week, we will have 4 physical locations across mid-central region where you can go and talk to somebody face to face, and that might be a disability information person or it might be a connector. And again, as we're learning and adjusting this, we might change the hubs over time, but at this stage there is one at Hancock House in Palmerston North, and that will start next Wednesday, and then there will be people there available from 9:30 to 4 Monday, Wednesday and Friday. There will also be a hub in Levin 2 days a week and in Otaki 1 day a week, and I am pretty sure it's Woodville also 1 day a week, but that information will be available. There's a monthly video coming out from me, and I think that will be tomorrow or Friday, that has information about the hubs, and also that information will be on the new website www.mana, M-A-N-A, Whaikaha, WHAIKAHA.co.nz, and that information, so that will be the place to go and check. There's also a 0800 number, and I'm just looking over to my expert hoping that she might be able to send me the 0800 number. I think it's 0800 Mana 55, but anyway, we'll get that number in a second. So it's 0800 626255. And none of that will be operational until the 1st of October. So just from next Monday, you'll be able to either phone us on 0800 626255, email us at info@mana.govt.nz, whānauwhaikaha.co.nz, or go to the website www.manawhaikaha.co.nz, or go to one of those face-to-face hubs. Had an email from Sue. What if system transformation doesn't work for our family member? So Sue, system transformation isn't something you opt into or opt out. There will be a range of options available. And so system transformation is about disabled people and families having more flexible support options and more decision making over their support. So for that can mean exactly the same types of support we have and have now. So someone can continue to receive residential support or support from a provider. There will be 5 types of options about how you manage your support and funding. So you can continue to get support provided by providers where the Ministry of Health manages the contract and the support is delivered to the disabled person, or you can have support provided through a flexible disability support contract, which again, the disabled person and family chooses the provider. The contract and funding is managed directly from the Ministry of Health to the provider, and the provider provides some direct support to the disabled person and can also arrange other support. So it may be things that they don't directly provide, but they can organise for you. Or you have the opportunity as a disabled person and family to negotiate a contract directly with a provider, or to have manage your support yourself in a personal budget, or have someone to assist you. But I think one of the things when people say, what if it doesn't work? I think this is appreciating that there is a range of options. It isn't, I think when people hear system transformation, they still think sometimes that means you have to have individualised funding, and you don't. There are a range of options there. But also, if you find that things aren't working, there is information available about how to make a complaint on the new website, and we can get a connector to work with you if you don't like. If the first connector you work with doesn't work out for you, there's also an option for us for you to choose a second connector. I've just got a question. Ruth's just commented, how many connectors are there currently, please? So there are 17 connectors who have been employed in the Mid-Central prototype. So that's 17 who are employed. We're still working through the process around NGO connectors, and so they will be coming on slightly later, towards the end of October, we're expecting. And there is the option to select somebody from your networks if you think you have someone who is suitable. Just had a really nice comment. So thank you, Ruth, for your nice comment to me. Really appreciate it. So just conscious we've got just over 10 minutes, so it'd be really good if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask, please send them through. One of the other things that I'm personally working on at the moment is making sure that we also have options for people who need formal support for decision making. So I know one of the groups of people that have raised a number of concerns with me are parents who are older and who have adult disabled children who are living with them, and they're really concerned about what happens when they're no longer able to support them in the way they do now. And one of the things that we're really wanting to test in the prototype is the having access to someone to support a disabled person to make decisions. And in particular, I'm really interested in looking at how we can make that work for older parents who would like to work alongside somebody and their disabled person so that they can transition some responsibilities over time, so that they have confidence that there will be somebody there to support their disabled family member when they no longer can. So, as I said, 10 minutes to go. Any other questions? we'll give it a couple of minutes, and if not, we will wrap it up early. But please remember there is another live streaming session tomorrow night at 6:30, and Lorna Sullivan will also be on that live streaming session. I have to say that I am quite looking forward to the faces of system transformation changing a little bit over the next month. So from the 1st of October, I think you will see and hear less from me and start to see and hear more from Lorna and Marshall, who are the directors in Mid Central, because they will be seeing exactly what's happening on the ground. My team will still be very involved, and we will be continuing to work very closely with the prototype, but it will be really good to start to hear from Lorna and Marshall about what's actually happening as disabled people and families start accessing the new system. So I think we're just checking, but my technical assistant is just having a look, but I don't think we've got any more questions. So if you do think of something after we finish, please do email us at stfeedback@moh.govt.nz or join the live streaming session tomorrow night.